you defeat the United States, winning by not losing. The American military won every battle in Vietnam. Who won the war? In the second Iraq war, the American military won every battle. Who won the war? In Afghanistan, the Taliban could say, you have all the watches, we have all the time. Who won? And so what Iran is doing very cleverly, because militarily they are hugely inferior to the United States, is winning by not losing. All they have to do is persist. As Ross says, turn up the pressure in terms of gasoline prices. And the stock market is not volatile. The stock markets are down about 10% from their highs just 2 weeks ago. That puts enormous political pressure on Donald Trump at a time when you have a Congress can't even agree about opening up the government. So the strategy of winning by not losing is how weaker powers prevail. And since the Korean War, every war the United States has entered in which the other side has taken the strategy of winning by not losing, we have lost. I wish Donald Trump had running out of bullets, in essence. And if the Houthis decide to blockade the Red Sea or Bab el-Mandeb, we're going to be running out of ships. There's also the personnel cost. The fire on the USS Ford may not have been an accident, would suggest that there are some questions with morale. So the tolls that you look at, we've had a relatively small number of Americans killed and wounded so far, thank goodness. But the toll on equipment, the toll on our weapons magazines and our personnel cannot be calculated. And the fact of the matter is, by bringing in the Marine Expeditionary Units and a brigade of the 82nd Airborne, those forces can establish toeholds, but they cannot sustain themselves. In fact, I've been just watching the movie A Bridge Too Far about the failed Arnhem operation, in which we parachuted in 3 British and American airborne divisions that failed. And so you asked the question about what options does Mr. Trump have? They're both bad. He can withdraw and try and claim victory, or he can escalate. And frankly, escalation is just going to make matters worse, because I don't see any way of resolving this war by sheer use of military force. And as we have discussed, this war is expanding rapidly. It's now expanded to Iraq. And as I said, Russia will become more deeply engaged. And don't forget, one of the clever aspects of Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine's approach, he's going to the Middle East, he's going to the Gulf states to get all the money he needs because he cannot get it from the United States. In other words, his plan B is, I don't think the U.S. is with me for the long term. Will the Arab states help me? That's something else that's going to be a further. If the Houthis declare the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb and the Red Sea are mined, whether they are or not, that's going to be a crisis, and we have a shortage of ships to deploy. Second, you talked about Pakistan. The only person who has any weight is not Shehbaz Sharif, who's the prime minister. It's Field Marshal Munez, who's head of the Pakistani army. And he's the only one who will have any weight with Donald Trump. So we'll see how those negotiations proceed. And finally, Iran's Trump card is attacking the salination plants in the Gulf. As you know, 95% of all the fresh water that the Gulf states depend upon comes from desalination. So Iran has a Trump card here that could precipitate a huge humanitarian disaster. This is indeed a weapon of mass destruction. If they want to play the card, it's going to be huge. And I don't think that we have any way of preventing that disaster from happening if all those desalination plants are destroyed. And Iran has the capacity to do that. That's something that lurks and looms rather than lurks. And it's a real issue that comes to the fore if indeed Iran gets to a position when it needs to act in that regard.